Welcome back to Connected Tech Talks, and in the last video I did my MacBook review, which I actually filmed like a month ago, and I was going to include these question and answer, or these questions for me to answer in that video, but I decided not to re-record and just use the old footage. Anyway, today I'm going to be going through your questions and talking more about my MacBook Pro. You'll notice me re-emphasizing a lot of the points that I mentioned in the last video, as well as going over some points or going more in depth into points that I didn't emphasize enough. Okay, so today we're talking about the 2019 base model 13-inch MacBook Pro. I've been using it since February 15th, 2020. And the first question we're going to go into, which no one actually asked me, I kind of asked this myself, why didn't I wait for the 14-inch MacBook Pro? This is a very valid question. If you're looking to get a MacBook Pro, unless you need it like absolutely urgently, it's probably going to be coming out in June. It's probably going to be coming out this June. It's going to have the better keyboard, better graphics, better CPU, whatever. The screen's going to be bigger. There's no reason not to wait. It'll probably be the same price as the current 13-inch MacBook Pro. But the reason that I didn't wait is so this product was released, or this original design was released in 2016, and I've been saving up for this computer basically since it came out in 2016. So I kind of felt an obligation to go with this design because it's kind of like a nostalgia thing. And I know that I'm not going to need the extra power of the 14-inch MacBook Pro. So I feel like it's more of like this one will serve me well, and this is the one that I've been wanting for so long. It's more of a sentimental thing than a practical thing. This will probably be my main computer for a few years, and I have complete faith that it will last me that long, unless I get rich and buy something better between now and the next time that I need a computer. Plus, I really needed a computer. I've been using a Chromebook for approximately way too long. I keep using that approximately joke. I just think it's funny. I've been using a Chromebook for way too long. I've been editing on my iPhone 10 for way too long. It was time. I had enough money. It was go time, basically. And let me just say, this computer, it's great. I love being able to open my computer and being able to accomplish whatever task it is that I want to accomplish. I actually tried downloading Fortnite and playing that. It doesn't work. I'm fine with that. Don't need to play Fortnite. Minecraft runs completely fine. And I love just opening it up. All of my apps are still open. And like I have 20 apps on the screen at the same time. There's no lag whatsoever. I have Twitter, Discord, Telegram, iMessage, and then Final Cut Pro in the next desktop over, and then Safari in the next desktop, and then Google Chrome in the next desktop, and the fans are barely running and there's no lag. Now, if I'm actually doing something in Final Cut Pro, the fans do get kind of loud, but you know, that's fine. I just like how reliable it is. I'm sure the MacBook Air can provide you with this same experience though. So if that's what, like if you're looking for something that will just work when you open it, a MacBook Air or even an iPad Pro would be good for that. But since I'm video editing, I figured at the time, I want the Pro. So that's what I went with. I spent a lot of my MacBook review critiquing the MacBook Pro, but it really has been just an immense improvement to my workflow. Like now I can record and edit an entire Connected Tech Talks video in less than an hour and a half, and that's amazing. If I want the editing to be like on point, then I need a little bit more time. Maybe in 2 hours I can complete it. Whereas back when I was doing everything from my iPhone, it could take up to 4 hours to do a single video, and that gets mind-numbing very quickly. So I'm completely happy with my purchase. Anyway, I should probably actually read the questions that I've been given at this point. Josh says, does it actually overheat as much as people are saying it does? He also asks about thermal throttling. Okay, so the answer is yes. It gets very hot very quickly when I'm video editing. If I'm doing something like video calling, it also can get very hot. It can get very hot when I'm doing something like exporting in Final Cut Pro or rendering or things like that. And at that point, there is some thermal throttling that I can notice. Like if I'm exporting something and the computer gets too hot, it will like the exporting goes from this fast to this fast, and it's very noticeable. We all know that overheating on a computer is not good. It's not good for your fingers. I've actually, like, it's been so hot that it burnt to touch right here on the computer. I'm pretty sure I know where the CPU is on this computer because of where it gets hot, but like up here in the top right corner, if I touch there when it's super hot, it can actually burn sometimes. I've never seen it get much higher than 100, but it does overheat and it does thermal throttle. Again, we all know that overheating is bad for a computer because it negatively affects the components of the computer. And I'm super paranoid about over time, every day doing 4K 60 video, and it's overheating, and I'm just super paranoid about that. So what I did is I downloaded something called Max Fan Controller. And what I do is I have it set to not let the computer get higher than about 75 or 80 degrees Celsius. And that way the fans do get super loud, but during quarantine, there's no one around here to get bothered by it. And I just have my noise canceling AirPods Pro in anyway, so it can't really hear it. So the fans do get loud, but the computer doesn't get hot, and I feel much safer using my computer at these high speeds. Apple is notorious for not wanting to turn their computer's fans on until the last minute. So yeah, I just feel much more safe using this software that allows me to stop it from getting hot. Yes, I know the CPU is built to be able to sustain high temperatures in the 90 to 100 degree temperature range, but no matter what, more heat equals more energy use, which is bad for the battery life, and everything like that. And over time, it will wear down the components of the computer. And I'm just trying to increase the longevity of this for as long as possible. Why did you buy this instead of an iMac or some other Mac? The reason I didn't get an iMac is quite obvious. I need something that I can take to school, something that I can take out to the living room to work on my lap, something that I can use at the table. With an iMac, it kind of has to stay at your desk, which I would like an iMac. I would like to have my MacBook for on the go, an iMac for power, but this is a priority. Why didn't I buy a MacBook Air? That's a better question. And the reason is flawed logic, I guess. I don't know. I just wanted a Pro for so long, and I may as well. It's not that much more. And plus, the 2020 MacBook Air hadn't come out then, so that's the same situation as why I didn't wait for the 14-inch MacBook Pro. And I really did want the Touch Bar just because, Tabby wants to see the damage caused by the fatal drop of my laptop. I'm probably showing you it on screen now. It bothered me for a while at first, but honestly, it's just, this is a tool. And if the tool works, then it doesn't matter how it looks, even though Apple products, they're supposed to be pretty and everything like that. Steve Jobs is probably rolling in his grave that I'm using a dented laptop, but I'm fine with it. I also have Apple Care, so I can get it. So I want to get it repaired right before the warranty ends. That way, coming out of the warranty, I have as long as possible with a nice looking laptop. Thankfully, at first I thought there was some backlight damage when I dropped it, but no, there's no functional problem. If the screen was cracked, then it would be a bigger deal for me. If something happened to make it not function perfectly, I would be more upset and want that repair more soon. But the fact that it works fine is cool with me. But people, this is why you do not make laptop cases that open on the side. They should always open on the top. That way when you're holding it by the handle, there's no possibility of it falling out. When I held it by the handle and the opening is on the side, I was in a rush, forgot to zip it, it slipped out. That's, things happen. Cole Farina, something like that, asks, how is the Touch Bar done? Something that I mentioned in my actual review is that I don't like the Touch Bar. I kind of exaggerated it. The Touch Bar is good. I don't see it as something that's completely necessary, but it is a better use of space than the function keys, and that's important, right? For the 10 seconds per day that the Touch Bar shaves off of my workflow time, it's cool. And it looks cool, and it's like, wow, I can touch that. It's a screen. But it's not something that I would consider absolutely necessary, and it's not a reason that you should be looking at the MacBook Pro instead of the MacBook Air, if you know what I mean. The MacBook Air even has Touch ID, which is one of the best things about the Touch Bar. Is it as helpful as some people make it out to be? No. I didn't know there was people that make it out to be helpful. I was originally going to get the non-Touch Bar version, but now that there's a Touch Bar on all versions, have to get the Touch Bar. So it is cool, just not that cool. 90% of the time that I'm reaching up for my keys to touch the Touch Bar, I'm just changing the volume or the brightness. Then someone asks, how good is the Touch Bar in something like Photoshop or other photo editing apps? it's just like in every other app. You know, there are some things that might improve your workflow timing by microseconds because you can reach up and do this instead of doing it with the keys or your mouse or something like that. But most of the functionality that the touch bar provides in most of the apps, I never find myself using, unfortunately. It's not bad. I want to emphasize it's not something that's going to make you go, oh my God, why is this here? But it's going to make you wonder, like, how much cheaper could this thing be if it did not have a touch bar, you know? And things like Final Cut Pro that are so shortcut driven, you barely ever click any buttons on the actual screen in things like Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro. Like, you already know all the shortcuts for everything you need to do, so the options that the touch bar provides are not that helpful. All right, that's it for your questions. Thank you for asking them. If you have any questions for my next Q&A video, which will probably not be product-based like this one was, then you can ask them any tech-related question, any other question, any question you have for me, you can ask in the comments below, or on Twitter using hashtag QAV4. This was QAV3, which stands for Questions and Answers Volume 3. Anyway, as always, stay connected and stay inside, man.